Hello everyone. Today on UFO Talks, we're going to be recapping the interview of Neil Degrasse Tyson on the JRE. Let's get into it. For those who don't know, Neil Degrasse Tyson is an American astrophysicist, planetary scientist, author, and science communicator that has been a widely known spokesperson for the scientific community and is currently the director of the Hayden Planetarium. He also hosts a science and pop culture show called Star Talk. Recently, Neil appeared on the JRE, and Joe immediately started the interview asking about UFOs, as he knows that Neil has always been very skeptical of the subject. This is how it began. But before I show you something really important, I'm going to have to alter the visuals of the interview because I want to avoid any copyright issues. I hope it's not too distracting, and I apologize in advance. Also, we're not going to be reviewing the whole interview, just the parts that involve UFOs. Here's how the conversation started.
See, you're still at it.
I'm still at it.
Still doing the thing. And I thought, I saw a few of your shows and I said, we can bring some deep philosophical thought back.
I've been meaning to talk to you. I've been wanting to talk to you quite a bit.
What do you got?
Well, all these UFO disclosures.
Yeah.
You're like one of the first guys that I want to talk to because you always have a skeptical, inquisitive perspective on these things. You're not necessarily dismissive,
right?
But you're not willing to just adopt this narrative that we're being visited by UFOs from another planet.
Yeah. So it's. By the way, let's start with the military.
Yes.
Right? If there are glowing lights in the sky and we don't know what it is, they damn sure better look into it.
Right.
We give them folks $700 billion. Yeah. Make some percentage of that budget to check out the possible threat of things we don't understand.
I used to think that was a lot of money until I found out that Los Angeles spent $1 billion on the homeless every year.
After this part, they go off on a tangent talking about the military, the Texas freeze, NASA, the state of schools in America, Twitter, and then they go back to UFOs, as Joe brings the whole thing back.
I'm not going to let you get away with this alien thing, though.
Oh,
bring it back.
No, bring it back.
Bring it back to this alien
thing.
Damn,
I thought I could.
So, it's weird to me that now the Pentagon is saying that these are real videos that they've captured off of naval vessels, and they're been hovering over defense systems, and they don't know what they are. They don't know how they operate. There's a film that was released recently by Jeremy Corbell that also came from the Navy, where it shows one that's a transmedium device. It actually flies through the air and then goes into the water. And this is being filmed.
That's how they interpreted the information that was in front of them. Yeah,
exactly.
Just to be clear.
Yes, but it did go in the water. There's a film of it actually going in the water, and they talk about it splashing down. They're monitoring it.
Well, they talked about there was a white caps where they think it was submerged. I think wasn't that the
we could see it. It actually went underwater,
and
then they went to look for it, and they couldn't find it. They used a submarine. They used sonar. They don't know what it is.
Yeah, so I hope they keep checking to find out what it is.
It'd be nice to know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
Something that can travel through the sky and also go through the ocean. That's pretty crazy.
I want the military to understand that signal they're getting on their equipment.
Yes.
Because there's equipment between you and what's going on, typically. When it's sort of Navy sensors and trackers and that sort of thing. Other things are things people see in the sky with their own senses, right?
Yeah.
Just the light in the sky, and it moves in ways they don't understand or can't explain. So, but a point I've made before, I'll just rehash it here. We live in a time where everyone is equipped with a high-resolution color camera and video recorder. Basically everyone. And if you run the numbers on it, it's about, I got this from someone from Google, there's about 6 billion photos and videos uplifted to the internet every day. And in that collection, you find really rare things that you only heard about, or maybe you saw the results of, but you didn't actually see it happen. So there are videos of buses tumbling in the winds of a tornado.
Here, Neil goes into a conversation of footage of tumbling buses and rare animals and their behavior, and then they get back to the topic.
Now, what's my broader point there about that I was making? I just distracted myself.
Something about UFOs?
Yeah, I know. I was trying to get back to UFOs on that.
The fact that we have high-resolution cameras in our pocket and we take videos of things that are very unusual.
Exactly. So here's video of a magpie doing Bernoulli experiments on a water bottle. Who would have known that even happened, right?
Right.
Okay. You can't bring the bird into a lab and maybe you could, but I don't know that anyone did. All right. Here's my point. In the 1960s and 70s, there were many, many reports of alien abductions. People said, the aliens came to me and they brought me in and then they released me. Do you have any footage? No, they took my camera. Or no, they zapped my film and now there's no image on the film. But there were countless stories. Well, now you can stream live from your camera anything that's going on in front of you. So if the aliens come and they want to abduct you, can stream it. That would be instantly viral. Oh my gosh. You know, the stuff that goes viral is much less than that. A kitten that jumps to the table and falls, that goes viral? You don't think a video footage of an alien is not going to go viral instantly? But there's none. So I'm just saying, I'm thinking if we were being visited, somebody would have some good footage. If we were being visited, I'm thinking maybe Google satellite images would catch spaceships that are not airplanes moving on our surface. If we were being visited, I'm thinking we'd have something better than fuzzy monochromatic video of objects that apparently reveal themselves only to Navy pilots, right? So
one of the reasons is most of these sightings actually occur far offshore in the ocean. And the speculation is this is one of the ways, no, obviously I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on nice and tight.
Do your thing.
This is one of the ways that they monitor us. The best way to do it is to do it where they hold their base where no one is around, which is the ocean.
No, that's not true.
They go in the ocean, they pop up, and they fly out.
It's not true.
What do you mean it's not true?
It's not true. Yeah, nobody lives on the ocean. Yes, that's correct.
In the ocean.
But have you it lives down undersea.
This is what the speculation
Oh, okay.
is.
It lives down
That's
undersea.
why these transmedium devices have been these transmedium crafts have been observed.
If you are sure we are being visited by
I'm definitely
aliens
not sure.
and you don't actually have really good evidence, then you have to say that. Sure.
Well, you know that.
You have to say that. You have to say, this is really happening and they're observing us and they're concealing themselves in this particular way. You have to say that. And so
Right.
that's your way to maintain your alien belief system by saying that. And I don't have a problem with it. Go get them.
Mm-hmm.
Go get them. But all of what has been put forth as evidence for aliens, to me, is insufficient evidence to excite my interest, my research interest in devoting time to finding it out. But it definitely has excited other people. I have not stopped them. I am not saying defund the military program on UAPs, which of course is just updated UFO. Right?
I know they like to say that now
Yeah,
because there's like a stigma to
no,
UFO.
Yeah, I know. That's just that's a really transparent,
sneaky way of doing
No,
it.
it's not even sneaky. It's actually, I think it's embarrassing. It's like maybe if we call them UAPs,
People take them seriously.
People will take them seriously. No, it's just.
I'm of the belief that they're probably akin to what we did on Mars. I don't think there's aliens in them. I have a feeling that these things are probes. And I feel like if you just think about biological entities flying through the universe, like why do that?
Right.
When you have sophisticated technology that's good enough right now from our like relatively primitive in consideration of what we think is possible a million years from now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we can send that Mars rover around. We have a helicopter on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's multiple satellites flying through the universe right now taking images. We can do all that.
Yeah, but
Why would
our
we
probes are not targeting the Martian military fighter pilots.
because there's no Martian military. But if there were, we
They're
certainly
just
would.
sitting out in the open.
Right, but if we had something like
Then they go into talking about David Fravor's case, and here's what they have to say.
here with one of the most famous cases was a case with Commander David Fravor of the Navy, who encountered with one or two other jets off of the Nimitz. They encountered this thing that was shaped like a Tic Tac.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know the story.
Everybody knows this, yeah.
This story. It went from, they tracked it going from 80,000 feet above sea level to 50 in less than a second. They have no idea how it moved. There's no visible propulsion system.
Mm-hmm.
It was blocking their radar. It was actively blocking tracking.
This is what their sensors
yes,
told them.
Exactly.
Just be clear about that.
And then
you're stating information as though it is facts.
I'm stating information as Commander Fravor
I don't care.
relayed
That
it.
doesn't matter. He's human,
Right.
and we're all human here. But
I
as
understand
a
what you're
scientist, when you're presenting information, you don't say, this thing was at 80,000 feet and it dropped to zero to sea level in 1 second, or whatever it was the measure.
Yes.
That's the wrong way to report it. What you say
Okay.
is, we have sensors that told us this is what happened.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay?
Yes.
That's a very important distinction.
Yes.
And so now, all right, your first question then, tell me about the sensors.
Yeah.
Okay, are they double checked? Are they, you know? And so, but if you're just going to say there's this craft at 80,000, then everyone is thinking about a craft, and no one is thinking about the sensor.
They actually saw it with their eyes too. This is something that they actually got.
You can't see something at 80,000 feet.
No, the actual visual on the craft.
Okay.
They didn't see it at 80,000 feet, but this craft, it's not just something that was tracked with equipment.
Got it. But they didn't see it at 80,000 feet.
Right.
That's my point. So, by the way, this level of attention I'm giving to the detail and the reporting of information, we do that with fellow scientists for much less
Oh, for sure.
than if we're being visited by intelligent aliens from another planet. Go to a scientific conference and watch the level of scrutiny we put on other people's work. If they have a sensor that has a new result, we'll say, did you calibrate the sensor? How long has the sensor been in use? I'll give you an example. Here's an example, okay? Do you remember Planet X?
After this, he goes into talking about Planet X and the search for it and how the lack of correct instrumentation impeded the search. Then it ties back to the subject of UFOs.
So I'm trying to say this happens all the time in science. You have to be careful what you're analyzing before you declare that what the thing measured is true, and then realign all your resources to address what you think is true when it might have just simply been a glitch or multiple glitches or anything. And we do this all the time in science. So you were saying.
Well,
After this, they talk a little more about Pluto and how our solar system might actually have been a binary star system, then return to the subject of UFOs again, when Joe asks this question.
when you think about this idea of everyone having these video cameras in their pocket and high resolution imagery and where is that stuff? But the absence of evidence isn't necessarily evidence of absence.
It can be. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Because that's a mantra.
Right.
All right. And in science, so philosophically, that's true. But in practice, in science, we do that all the time. Okay? So I'll give an example. It's a contrived example, but it's a clean example. There's a cave nearby. You're a mountain man, all right?
Here he goes on to talk about a theoretical cave that exists with theoretical bears and how scientifically he could gather that there are no bears in the cave. And you can go on Spotify and hear the entire argument, but I didn't find it too convincing to the subject at hand. They pick back up with this.
And you think that's a valid way to dismiss the lack of UFO evidence because these people have these phones and they're just all filming and taking photographs of things constantly?
Why would happen? They? You can ask. You're perfectly allowed to say what would happen if we were visited by aliens, and you crowdsourced the access to aliens among 7 billion people in the world. Okay?
How many people are out in the middle of the ocean?
You have. So I was going to get to that. Have you ever seen the flight paths of airplanes in a single day?
Neil goes on to talk about airplane traffic. Then this is said.
The airspace is crisscrossed by way more commercial carriers than military vehicles. And I'm thinking you'd have an encounter with something that was not a fuzzy object that no one can describe. They would photograph something through the cockpit window. I mean, why not? You'd see something.
There was a recent sighting by a bunch of American Airlines pilots. By 2, I should say, not a bunch of.
Yeah, it can happen. Again, you get the more. I don't know what I'm looking at. Yeah, but was it detailed? Did you have?
If you had a guess, if you had a bet, like if you had.
Next, Joe makes him put his money down, so to speak.
If you had a guess, if you had a bet, like if you had a pile of money, and you have to put it on green for aliens or red for horse shit? Where are you putting your money?
You're forcing a binary decision here.
I am.
Yeah,
We're playing roulette.
but I wouldn't call it horseshit. I would say not aliens.
Not aliens.
Right.
I don't think there's things in most of those crafts, but I think those crafts are some kind of drone, and I'm not convinced that they're from another planet.
But they sure. I don't have.
But I
don't have a problem with that. And if you, by the way, if this thing that they see out the window, okay, and they don't get a good photo, or it's still fuzzy, or it's still a light in the sky, and I'm saying, okay, I'm not yet convinced, but it's something. Fine, go invest resources to figure it out, especially if you think it's a security risk. If you want to believe it's aliens, I'm not. If they didn't want us to see them, you would never see them. I'm pretty sure. If they had enough technology to cross the vacuum of space to reach us, that you wouldn't even know they were there.
I agree.
You just would have no idea.
Then Joe touches on the next subject, and then he asks the question, and I applaud him for this because I've heard this argument before from many scientists over the years, accompanied by chuckles and mockery. So let's have a listen.
You just would have no idea.
Perhaps the way that they slowly integrate into our consciousness, into our acceptance of their existence, is a trickle effect.
Okay.
Every now and then we see a video.
Now think of the hubris of us saying this advanced civilization of aliens who can cross the gaps of space are interested in us and our gonads, and they want to paint circles in our crops. That's kind of weird, I would think.
Okay, I hate this argument.
I just think it's a little weird.
Tell you,
I don't think we're that interesting.
I think we're really fucking interesting. I
To-
think
to
we
an
can
advance-
nuke the entire planet many times over, and yet we don't. We did it once in 1947. We bullshit each other constantly. We spew out propaganda. We have this bizarre ritual where every 4 years we pick a leader based on a popularity contest.
Who you want to have beer with.
We're constantly involved in murder and rape and genocide all over the world. We choose what things to pay attention to, what not to pay attention to. We celebrate people who pretend to be heroes in films and television, and we barely know scientists who win Nobel Prizes. We're fucking fascinating. We're the weirdest things.
To whom?
The weirdest things. Listen, if you studied us, if you were from another planet filled with things like us, like there was another planet of us, and we found a planet doing the exact same kind of nonsense that we do somewhere else, we would be riveted.
Here's how I think about another planet. All right,
Okay.
if I can share this. This is a little deep. If you're ready for that.
please.
Okay, so
Neil then goes into the story about theoretical photosynthesis aliens and how if they were to find us, they wouldn't find us very interesting. Joe dismisses the argument with some intelligence and humor. Then they go immediately back into talking about UFOs, and it gets pretty interesting. Here, have a listen.
So getting back to the UFO reports and sites, the headline I saw recently says, "Pentagon confirms UFOs are real." That title has no meaning.
Well, it gets me happy.
Well, no, it has no meaning.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it just has no meaning.
It's unidentified, so unidentified things are real.
Yeah, of
that
course.
doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean they're
anything.
aliens.
Right.
If the title said Pentagon confirms UFOs are actually aliens, that is a headline.
Right.
That's a good headline right there. But that's not what anybody can report.
What do you think this whole ramping up of all this information is? All the videos and all the conversations about it, the article in the New York Times.
Yeah, it's part of what the Trump set into motion. I mean, the landscape was ripe for it, but by the way, was it UFO sightings went up during COVID? I think because everyone was home bored with nothing to do, and you'd go out and look up.
Makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of cultural statistics related to the frequency of UFO sightings. But Trump, just before he left office, he slipped something into the COVID relief bill, as they do so often in Congress, where you agree with the rest of this. I don't agree with that, but I want to get it through.
So he put that in?
Yes. Well,
The
under his
UFO
administration.
disclosure?
It's under his administration. The full disclosure. Within 6 months, he wants all federal agencies that collect information on unidentified sky objects to put together reports and deliver to Congress within 6 months. Fine. I don't have a problem with that. What's weird, though, is this belief that somehow the government is some repository of knowledge and secrets that we don't otherwise have access to. That's not the kind of country we live in, nor is the government that competent, right? So, yeah, they try to keep secrets, and they keep many secrets. They tend to be of the uninteresting kind. But if you have an interesting secret, if you're stockpiling aliens and you're telling me the secretary, the admin, the janitor, that they're not sneaking out an iPhone photo, really? Really?
Do you think it's that simple?
Really?
Really? Do you think it's that simple? Christopher Mellon, who worked for the Defense Department, he came on and was talking to us about.
You get all the inside folks here, yeah.
And it was an intriguing conversation because he is of the belief that they have had access to some objects and some crafts and some things that are unexplainable and don't seem to come from any technology that and I don't want to put any words in his mouth, but any technology that we're currently capable of reproducing.
Okay. I mean, he might have seen something that the military was actually working on that would be mysterious to someone who is only familiar with unclassified propulsion systems and the like. So,
do you think it's possible that a propulsion system so outside of the norm, something that is not working off burning fuel, something that's working off some new technology that is, whether it's some sort of gravity distorting or gravity-based technology, that could actually be conceived in a vacuum where they could get the top scientists that work in propulsion, people that do understand, I mean, as much as we do understand gravity, as much as we understand the possibility of some sort of propulsion system, it's pretty minimal, right? In terms of like the mainstream.
Yeah, we're still primitive with our propulsion systems.
Is it possible that this could all be done in a vacuum, that it could all be done without anybody ever having known about it, and they could produce something that's so preposterously advanced from anything we've been capable of making before?
Advances tend not to be large leaps like that. They tend to be incremental.
More likely that it's from a different source than from human beings.
If what he's describing is true, then it would not be incremental. I mean, we tend to do things incrementally. That's just the nature of discovery and human innovation. So
if something actually can move the way supposedly these units that these various tracking systems that they have that can follow something from 80,000 feet.
I'm saying
above
we don't
sea
understand
level
it. We don't understand.
Yeah.
If it's actually a thing, we have there's no physics that explains it that we know of. That's
and if
correct.
something can move that way, if it's confirmed that the systems are accurate and that this thing does move that fast and can do things that are beyond our capability currently as far as we understand it, would it be more likely that it would come from some other advanced civilization outside of Earth, or would it be more likely that it was conceived in a vacuum here without anybody having any access to any of the technology in these incremental forms?
So it's possible you can have black ops, as they say. This, you look at the airplanes that came out of Lockheed Martin during the Cold War. These were all secret, and they gave the engineers
kind of incremental.
Sure, but they looked really different, and they behaved very differently, and they had so yes, it was still incremental. But let's imagine, a deep black ops where they're making their own incremental changes, but you don't get to see them. So that by the time it shows up, it looks like it's a big leap, even though they got there incrementally, and that was unreported. Sure.
Doesn't science rely on other scientists to coordinate with, like other scientists to review data and to share ideas?
And it also presumes that the government has the best scientists, and that's simply not the case.
Right. Yes. That's what I would always think. The best scientists are going to go to the private sector because there's more money there.
Or academia, where you have freedom of research. Some will go because you can. There is money in the military, but you're forced to work on projects that might not be the most creative investment of your own energies. All right, you hire a physicist, make a bomb at the end of this.
So it would take something pretty monumental for you to shift your belief to this is probably
It's not belief. It's show me an alien. Give me something
but
that
I'm not of the belief that these things are populated.
Okay. So,
they may be, and maybe it's happened before. But when I'm hearing about these things flying around and I'm seeing what we're doing on Mars, I'm like, yeah, it's a better version of that.
You know what is a much better story to me is the Transformers, the origin story of the Transformers.
Neil then goes into talking about Transformers and other alien movies. Then they talk about humans' symbiotic relationship with science, in particular with chemistry, and they continue to talk about Neuralink. And for the rest of the interview, the topic of UFOs pretty much ceases from the conversation. So what do I think of the interview? What's my opinion? I'm a UFO guy. I'm a believer. But I totally get Neil Degrasse Tyson's scientific point of view. First, you could tell he wasn't quite avoiding the question of UFOs, but you could tell he really would rather talk about something else. The way he answered and discussed the UFO questions is the same way 99.9% of mainstream scientists and academia would have answered, right down to the smirks, laughs, and chuckles when talking about the UFO subject. I think that the argument that everyone these days has a cell phone, yet there are no videos, is ridiculous, because there are plenty photographs and videos of things we can't easily explain in the sky. And when a really great video arises, it either has to be conveniently fake or a malfunction of the instruments. Tyson even tried to dismiss Commander Fravor's encounter by suggesting that the Navy sensors were maybe faulty. He totally glosses over the fact that the pilots were there and that the pilots saw the craft with their own eyes moving like a ping pong and at one point disappearing right before them, at which point the craft reappeared at their cap point. By ignoring Fravor's testimony, Neil tosses in the garbage all the credentials and experience of a career jet fighter pilot. This is something that a lot of skeptics do. They stick to their specific argument and ignore the facts that don't quite fit their narrative because they're just unwilling to accept the entire scenario, as shown here when Joe tells them about what Fravor witnessed.
Facts.
I'm stating information as Commander Fravor
I don't care.
related.
That doesn't matter.
He doesn't care about the fact because he's already made up his mind about the argument and what has happened and won't let any more information in. It's kind of a messed up way for an intelligent person to approach something he doesn't understand. And that's okay. Neil has always thought that the whole subject of UFOs is a joke, and it would take nothing short of him personally being abducted on a spaceship as proof to him. And even then, when he got back, he might tell his peers that he was probably hallucinating. Here's a quick old clip of his opinion on UFOs and alien abductions from years back.
Do I believe in UFOs or extraterrestrial visitors? I'm not authorized to answer that question. Well, if you don't know what it is, that's where your conversation should stop. I'm ready, okay? So you're there, you're like on the slab, because they always do like the sex experiments on you, on the flying saucer. So there you are. Hey, look over there. And then he looks over there, you quickly like snatch something off the shelf, put it in a pocket, and then lay back.
You see, guys, Neil has all the answers. After saying all of that and giving my opinion, I swear I really appreciate Neil Degrasse Tyson. I think he's a charismatic communicator for the field of science. I hope that his talks on astrophysics inspire a whole generation of scientists who might be a little bit more open-minded. Going against Neil is like going against science, and I think we can all agree we shouldn't really do that completely. I just think that sometimes scientists are terrified of being wrong. And that's going to be it for this one. Please hit the like and subscribe button, use the comment section below to share your opinion, and let's keep searching for the truth because we love the UFOs. Till next time.